What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition podcast, where we are here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform in front of a live virtual audience. Um, I am your host, Stevie. This is episode 474, alongside my partner in crime, Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful this evening. I cannot wait for this show. It's going to be so much fun.
It really is. And a little bit later in the show, we are welcoming our very special guests. I'm talking about Miss Cat and Master Joshua. Many of you know Master Joshua, who's been on this program several times. Well, they're going to be talking about the Kink Collective and the whole philosophy behind it, plus their upcoming retreats this summer that you can partake in. So lots to get into. But before we get into that, we have a lot of hot topics to get to, including the White House, Kodi, had a Pride celebration this past weekend on Saturday. And they really went all out. And they've done this
Okay.
since Obama in the last several years. And I know my friend back in LA went to one of these Pride celebrations. And just like Obama, the
Mhm.
Bidens have done a really good job. And they did it on a Saturday. It was outdoor on the front lawn of the White House. And they invited movers and shakers and TikTok influencers
Ooh,
in
sounds
the
like a lovely afternoon.
LGBTQ plus community. And it sounded great.
Yeah.
And Biden, which I really loved about it, the first lady and Biden didn't phone it in. They gave powerful speeches, particularly Biden, and stuck around the whole party, taking pictures with people. And it
Wow.
was a really joyous celebration for all intents and purposes. Well, there's a little bit of controversy because one of the guests that was invited is a TikTok influencer by the name of Rose Montoya, and she's been making the
Okay.
news, not well, for a little bit of controversy, because essentially she flashed her boobs. She had her hands over her boobs
Er?
and
Er?
at the White House. And so the
Girl.
controversy is the right wing side of the populace right now is coming for her because it was apparently a family LGBTQ plus celebration, and people are calling her, see, this is exactly what you all are, groomers, right? And
Huh.
so she essentially, the story is that she stood next to other trans male people that were invited to it that
Mm-hmm.
also had their shirts off as well, and they were showing, she decided to stand in unison with them and cover her breasts but take her
Tetas.
top off. Yeah, that does exactly. And she thought she was, they were showing, as in her words, their scars and proud of their
Uh-huh.
transition, and she was standing in line too. They didn't get called out for it, but also they didn't necessarily post videos on their social media.
Uh-huh.
She yesterday posted this whole elaborate video which looked great, of her with Biden, her at the celebration, her meeting different people, and then this moment where she's shaking her tatas and amongst other trans male men that were in line with her. She's gotten a lot of flack. Her reasoning behind it, though, she says that,
Mm-hmm.
see, the right, this is exactly what you all do, is you're basically accusing me of being a woman, right? And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I am. So you're doing, and she didn't take it very well. The White House has come out against the whole scenario because it's inappropriate. It's the
Okay.
White House.
That's my point. Yes.
And Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, said that anybody that was featured in that video, not just her, will no longer be welcome to the White House from here on out because
Yeah.
essentially it was inappropriate. I happen to agree with that it was not right to do that, and it was a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
I think she got caught up in the moment. I think they all got caught up in the moment, but there's certain places you just don't, whether you're trans, gay, straight, whatever you are,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the time to really be flashing any body parts, I think.
Yeah,
What do you think about this?
I agree with you 100 wholeheartedly, 100%. She totally has a point as far as she was with her trans brothers and they were able to take off their shirts, but I think that that's completely inappropriate too. I actually saw, when I watched the video, I saw one of the trans gentlemen, he had his shirt off, and I was like, oh no, oh, they put it back on, honey. And he also had on this ugly it was a overalls and a bib. I was like, no, please just put it back on. This is not what the White House is all about. When I think of the White House, I do not think of where you take your shirt off. I think that's the Pride Parade that was in DC at the same time. So they could have went down to the Pride Parade. They could have went to the park and took all their shirts off and did what they had to do. But while you're at the White House, have a sense of decorum. To have some tea with the first lady, because I almost said the white lady. Oh my gosh.
Don't say that.
I know, right? Have some tea with the first lady. She's there to have a wonderful time with, to have a nice civilized type of afternoon. And I do think that as if you're at the White House, you definitely shouldn't be taking off your shirt. And that's it.
I agree with you 100%. I think that it was low-hanging fruit to offer
Mhm.
to the right anyways with what's going on in the country right now. And there's a pride parade to take off. One of her arguments was essentially it's legal to be topless in DC. Well, okay, great. But also have a sense of judgment too. Is this the right event? And not just her, it was her trans brothers as well that also took their
Yeah.
shirts off too. I think where the problem fell was that she decided to then post it to social media at the very end of this celebration reel that she put together that was really kind of cool.
Mhm.
And I think it just got lost in translation and it was a bad move.
Yeah, have some decorum, darling. Not at the White House, because the White House is for tea and crumpets. Would you do that in front of the Queen?
No,
No, you would not.
and I was fortunate to go to the Christmas party one year and meet the Obamas because my
Okay.
friend was a big donor, and I
Did you
was
take your shirt
so
off? You
I
kept your
did
shirt
not.
on?
No, I actually covered up even more. I learned how to tie a bow tie,
Oh, if Miss
and
Steve could have a bow tie on,
but
uncovered
let me
up,
tell you,
go ahead.
food was abundant. Cocktails were on. I had cocktails. I didn't overdo it like I do sometimes at the Eagle, and I had a great time
I love
because
that.
yeah. But no, I was covered up to here and knew yeah. Watching us live, of course, is a live virtual audience, and Bryce watching us says conservatives are worried the White House will become the white brothel. I love that. That is hilarious. Yeah, exactly. Really
Oh
quick
my
to,
goodness.
I know. Let us
I
know how
certainly
you,
hope not.
me as well. Okay, well, we got to move on. Staying sort of in the trans world here, the American Medical Association has strengthened support for gender affirming care. The American Medical Association has strengthened its position supporting the care for all transgender and gender diverse people. And the AMA's House of Delegates holding its annual meeting in Chicago voted Monday to pass the Endocrine Society's resolution on protecting access to gender affirming care, according to an Endocrine Society press release. This is really, did I say that wrong, Kodi?
No, you said it
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is really good because where we are having so much dis- disagreement on grooming
Mhm.
and transgender rights that are being taken away. I love that the AMA has really stood up because, and they're standing with families as well for the decision making process when it's right to have gender affirming care. And I
Yes.
like that an institution like this is really showing their support.
Yes, I could not agree more. I'm so happy that the American Medical Association came out and said that this is how they feel, and it's backed up by actual science. They put actual statistics in this. And it just makes so much more sense because that is something that the hate mongers will never have against us. They don't know anything about science and they don't know anything about actual facts. All they have is that they don't like it and they completely disagree with it. And it just goes to show you that smart people are on the side of gender affirming care at the end of the day.
The other thing I'll say about it too, it's they stood up for it to prevent things like suicide rates that have
Yes.
been on the increase because of people not getting the care that they really need. And so they're saving lives by doing this. And I think it's a powerful move when organizations like this, particularly the American Medical Association
A
that
big
has such
name.
clout,
Mm-hmm.
stands up for rights for transgender. They're saving lives by doing this. And so this is just a wonderful thing that they're doing. So take that, far right.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. We love to report on international news. And in Iceland, Iceland unanimously voted to ban conversion therapy. And it was a massive win for the LGBTQ plus rights community. Iceland has become the latest country to ban conversion therapy. The Icelandic parliament unanimously approved a comprehensive ban with 53 votes and three abstentions, prohibiting the harmful practice on the basis on sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Iceland is actually joining other countries such as Canada, New Zealand, Brazil, Ecuador, Spain, Germany, France, Malta, and Cyprus, among others. The passing of the law now means that anyone making an adult undergoing conversion therapy
Mm-hmm.
will face up to 3 years in prison, and anyone doing the same to a child will face 5 years.
Oh, wow.
This is really good, right?
That's really amazing. Yes.
Yeah, and we don't think about conversion therapy so much in this country because it seems so antiquated
I
and
know.
insidious. But when you hear this, Kodi, that even if they aren't, it's not put into action in places like Iceland, it still exists. And I think when laws, let's just say that they're not doing that much conversion therapy in Iceland, the fact that it still was legal up until recently is a
Mm-hmm.
big change because it really dictates how certain communities will think about our LGBTQ rights.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think that this is just amazing and it's so heartening to hear because again, actual doctors are saying how harmful that conversion therapy is. From what I heard though, Iceland is pretty progressive in their culture and I think the US could learn a lot from them. I just looked up how many because the United States conversion therapy is not banned across the entire country, but individual states, about 21 states, have banned it for minors. And there are 5 states and 1 territory that partially bans conversion therapy for minors. But that's it, which is not a lot. So I feel like the United States could learn a lot from Iceland because I feel like this is a wave that needs to hit the United States. The entire country needs to ban this because it's horrible. It's a horrible act. I can't imagine.
The entire world.
Well, thank you very much. I was starting with the United States, but let's go all the way with it. Let's go all the way to the whole world with it because it's really is it's basically torture. And a funny story though, when I heard the story initially, I couldn't compute conversion therapy and something positive coming through it. So I had like a, a I broke down basically. Joe had to reset me. It was like a logic bomb went in my head, off in my head. It was so horrible. But yeah, this is great.
I love it. Okay. Well, we want to remind everybody that we are in the middle of a Pride promo giveaway by TAGSPodcast. And what that means to you is all month long, we've got another half of a month to go. You can get 25% off adamstoybox.com. And they've got everything from lube, toys, cock rings, and so on and so forth. And you can get 25% off. All you got to do is go to adamstoybox.com and use our promo code TAGS25. So take advantage of that because 25% is really good.
Yes.
And you don't see that a lot. So help our sponsor out with that. But also, you can also enter to win one of 2 Adam's Toy Box giveaways sponsored by Adam's Toy Box, plus some tag swag, simply by taking our survey. And thank you everyone for taking it thus far. The best way to take our survey and enter to win, because once you do, you have to enter your email, is to go to TAGSPodcast.com and click on the link Tags Promo Giveaway. Okay.
Cool.
I think we have a couple comments before we have time for just read this one last.
Yes. Bryce says rough 20 states still allow conversion therapy in the US, which is way too high, entirely too high. That's crazy to me. And did you see that Nevada's governor just signed a bill into law requiring insurers to cover trans health care, which is amazing. I think that's great.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, I think we have time for one more story.
Cool.
Keep in mind that we will invite one of you guys to come up to the stage with our special guest coming on shortly. And you can ask a question. So stay tuned for that. If anyone wants to, just put it in the comment section. Okay, well, this is really exciting, and I kind of want to move to this small town in Spain because there is a former gay adult star by the name of Antonio Moreno. He was elected mayor of the small town, and he's ready to serve. Antonio Moreno has put his adult film career in the past and now successfully dominated the political arena after previously making headlines for announcing his run for mayor of the small Spanish town of Carcelén. The out gay 38-year-old who went by the moniker Hector de Silva in movies such as Hung Country 2, Wet 2, Editor's Cut, and Star Wars, a gay XXX parody, to name a few of his former films.
I got to get into that one.
Okay. He won the election by topping his opponent by just 12 votes. Remember, it's a small town in Spain, and he won. This is so exciting, Kodi, that, it doesn't surprise me that it was a small town in Spain where he won, because Spain is so progressive and liberal. I think they eat at 10 p.m., which is about the time I'm going to eat tonight.
I know, me
I'm all
too.
here for it. They're a little bit later, and I love it, and it doesn't surprise me. We were talking about a recent story of a mayor here in the States, in a small town as well, that posed for nude for a calendar, and I was a little bit prudish about it, like it's inappropriate. I'm all here for this mayor, though, leaving his adult career behind him. Good for him. What did you think?
Yeah, I live for this. I was highly in favor of that mayor posing for that catalog, and I think that this is great. I think that mayors have sex lives too, and they should be able to do whatever they want. But this also has the flip side of it. To the other side of the coin is that this also kind of legitimizes sex work. It's like doing sex work will not ruin your entire career,
because we talk about this a lot at the show.
Yes,
doing
100%.
OnlyFans.
Yeah, and this man who was a porn star is dominating the political career, the political role right now in Spain. Yes, they're a little bit more progressive when it comes to sex and things of that nature. You can see tetas on the TV shows all the time over there. But, I just think it's great because some people can be really prudish no matter where you are. So I just think that this is wonderful. And I think that, again, this needs to happen all over the world.
And we all have different cycles of life, too. Some moments we're a porn star having OnlyFans, which is wonderful. And then we're the mayor. So sorry, I'm from San Francisco, and Willie Brown was known as the mayor.
Willie Brown. Hey.
It's time to bring on our special guest, Kodi. If you want to do the honor while I introduce.
Okay, sounds
all
good.
Right. I am talking about our special guest of the night. Going to be talking about Bdsm. I'm talking about Miss Cat. She's a facilitator, an educator, a spiritual and recovery counselor. and also created the Kink Collective alongside a guest who's been on our show several times, Master Joshua. Master Joshua is a facilitator, an educator, a NTSB. And I wrote that down because I didn't actually know what that was until non-traditional sexual behaviors. I love that. Counselor and end-of-life doula. So welcome, Miss Kat and Master Joshua, to the show.
Thank you so much.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, we're in front of a live virtual audience, and I know they're going to have questions. Kodi, do they need to pull the camera back a little bit, or are they good? They're good? I think they're good.
I think they're good too. Yeah, I think they look fabulous. You both look so beautiful this evening.
Exactly.
Well, thank you.
There you go. Tighten it up.
You
Tighten it
feel
up.
beautiful. Thank you for having us.
Master Joshua, thank you for coming back, because you've been such a regular on this show and been so enlightening to so much of our audience over our past 6 years. And I just want to thank you for your contributions to this show. You have partnered up with Kat over the last several years to develop, both of you, the Kink Collective. And actually, Kat, if I could get you to talk about the Kink Collective and its inspiration first, and then we'll get Joshua to weigh in.
Okay, so the Kink Collective started as a leather family. We're a group of chosen family that are all committed to the BDSM lifestyle, leather lifestyle. We started about 5 years ago. Joshua and I both came to each other from different places and peoples and things. And this was how we sort of set out to do the things that we do together as a unified front. It was very different in the beginning than it is now, but that's its origin.
Okay. That's wonderful. And so I heard in that you guys are kind of like a family now, and I love the thought of that. What is the philosophy behind the Kink Collective? What are your thoughts on what is your mission statement, basically, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
So the philosophy is called People Before Kink. That's our philosophy. And it was essentially born out of this experience that a lot of us were having, where we would go to events and people would come up to any one of us and say, oh, in this case, Master, would you flog me? And he'd never met the person. So our response kept being, hi, my name is Kat. So it started us down this road of none of us liked feeling like kink dispensers, like that. It was very objectifying. So the philosophy became who we are comes before what we do, right? And if we can meet each other as people and get to know one another, then whatever play is going to happen will naturally follow that. But the starting point is people before kink.
I love that, because it's like I'm a human on top of having a kink. Exactly.
I'm a human first.
Yes.
Right? Like I'm a human being first.
Love that.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed recently, and I went to one of your events in Brooklyn I loved, it was called Wine and Bind, where we got to test wines, all red, from light to dark, or light to a little bit more heavily bodied, and kink we got to witness, and in that same order, and it was so powerful. One of the things I know that you're doing with Kink Collective is really bringing education. I've been in this community in and out for several years now, but one of the things that I noticed there is a lack of is education. I know that's a big part of the Kink Collective. Can you just talk about how the lack of education and how you really want to inform people on what this community is really about, or what it could be?
Yeah. So the last sentence you said, what it could be. Through our journey of hosting events and myself doing professional domination, and Kat finding her power and her strength in and through professional domination, the ability to help people self-actualize and reconcile their relationship with sexual identity. COVID, positive or negative, there was a lot of different experiences with it. What happened with us is we evolved our program, which was initially titled People Before Kink, and now it's called the Power Exchange Academy, because we've added a power exchange element, introspective element to it that is necessary in this journey. Now, coming back to the program, having done professional domination for over a decade, in that work, what I found out is there's a certain process that happens in order to connect with someone, and you have to learn it and do it for yourself as well. It's called introspection. Introspection and communication, right? Like having meaningful and deep discussions that matter to us. And it's not, I don't care about what kinks you're into, because what I've discovered over time is we're all into almost everything. The issue is shame, and do I feel safe enough with this person that I'm with to share that with? Because everyone is into something.
Yeah.
So how do we take it from me spending 1 hour at a time with each person while I do these interviews versus how do I empower them to do it moving forward? Because I don't want clients for the rest of my life. What I want to do is I want to show them their potential so that they can take that forward. Now, COVID made me realize that time is very limited and I can only work with so many people at a time. So developing this approach, processing what I did with clients one-on-one to how do we hold space and teach folks how to do it for themselves, Kat helped develop it. Right.
Yeah, we sat here, in fact, during COVID with no one around because no one could be around.
Right.
And we had whiteboards and posted things and markers and chairs. Literally, like, we birthed the process like during COVID.
Now, let me say, I would like to give Gil Kessler from GMSMA a ton of credit for this, because it was his curriculum that he passed down to me that he used to do for 30 years for the community. And it was a class by class technical curriculum, which I thank him for it because he gave it such amazing structure and the seed. What was missing is the importance of connection, and that we're not just hooking up just to play, but in order to engage on those deeper parts of us, we have to learn how to connect and build trust, because no one teaches us how to do that. That's been my profession. So why not teach it to people so that they can do it themselves for the rest of their lives? And it transcends kink. It's about being seen and heard, finding your words to say, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, and in order to gain access to me, my mind, my body, and my resources, this is what has to happen.
It's so great that
don't know what that. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And most people don't even know what that is, for the most part. Like, if you ask people, well, what would it take for somebody to have access to your time and your energy and your resources? I don't think most people can even answer that question. So a lot of this process is walking people through what is that for you, and then finding your words and then communicating it to other people.
I think what's so interesting, I love that it was born in the pandemic because a lot of us had so much time to reflect. I think with kink in general, so many of us, if you've had a chance to explore it, like we're coming on this weekend here in New York, Folsom East, which I know you guys will be there. I will be there as well. But
we'll have a booth.
One of the things that often has been encouraged with kink is you just try things, right? You try flogging, you try dominance, and you don't know why you're trying it. I think you're getting to more the root cause of what are you about, and you're going actually deeper instead of just trying things. I think it's great though when people want to try certain things and they don't know why they're trying it, but I like that you're going to the deeper root of it.
I want to give the listeners a little secret to this.
Okay.
It's not about if I'm into it, or because there's always this checklist: yes, no, maybe. Yes, I'm into this. No, I'm not into that. I may be into that. I'm curious. It's not about that. The thing is, ask yourself, how can I enjoy this?
Oh.
If you ask yourself, how can I enjoy this? You can at least have a starting point to. The hard part is if it's something that you feel shame around, you have to work it out well, right? Because like one of the examples that I give that isn't something based on shame unless you've been bullied is punching. Are you into being punched? Then people are like, no, I don't want to be punched in the face. And they do all these gestures and stuff. And it's like, no, I didn't ask that. I said, have you ever had a massage? And they'll go, yes. And I'll go, have they ever used a closed fist on your muscle? And they'll go, yes. I go, you know what that's called? And they'll look at me and they'll go, punching. And I'll go, yeah. And ask me, so do you like it? And then they go, yeah. Right? So it's like, it's all perspective. So for those things you have a hard no or a curiosity that's leaning more no, ask yourself, how can I enjoy it? To at least make it accessible.
The other thing that I would say too is, at least for me, over the course of my journey, what I say yes to and what's in, like, that has all changed over time, right? So,
Yes.
you know, I could try this, that, or the next thing today, and all it would tell me is what am I interested in today? It tells me nothing about what I'll be interested in a year from now. So the process of communication, connection, really being able to connect with another person by knowing your words and knowing who you are, and because that's the through line. Like, who I am and who I'm becoming is my through line, right? Like, what kinks I'm into today says very little in essence about who I am as a person. It just tells you, the flavor of the month in terms of how I like to play, right?
What you're
Very
enjoying.
different. Yeah, sure, but very different than who is Kat, and how do I feel speaking my truth to another person? Do I feel seen and heard, and am I able to see and hear others?
There's also who am I with, right? Because there's some things I'll do with some people that I wouldn't do with another, right? Or depending how long I've known you, there's some things that I won't do with you because they're too personal, right? So there's varying degrees in all these spectrums.
Yeah, but that the part about the modality is not as key as this process of coming to know yourself and finding the words and the courage to communicate who you are to other people.
Wow.
And to see what you get back, right?
This sounds amazing. It sounds almost like therapy, and I love that you guys are really are like.
No, listen. I'm writing a book called Healing Through Kink.
Really?
Yeah, no. The idea is, if we can find a space to talk about who we are, we can process, because you can't process in your mind by yourself, right? You have to be able to find a space to talk and share. Now, having done professional domination for as long as I have, what I realized is holding space is the healing part of it. Listening to someone's life story around sexual identity and their journey through discovery and all the struggle and pain and suffering they've dealt with right before they tell me what they're curious about, like, for them to come out on the other side of just that talk, they feel validated that they're not wrong. To then affirm that and then move forward to say, well, how do you want to explore it? So that they can actually touch what their shame was or their curiosities are. Like, that's healing all in itself. That's like therapeutic and therapy. For example, some people suffer from fibromyalgia.
Yes.
And they do impact play so that they can numb the pain, right?
Okay.
So that their mind isn't on the chronic pain that they're suffering. Or some folks have it's really managed anxiety for them. So there's a lot that can happen with this process. The issue is people don't know how to be vulnerable because we're not taught how to. People don't know how to communicate because we don't even know what's important to us, because no one's ever taught us that it's okay to dive into that. So there's a process of unlearning and finding someone who is ready to hear and communicate on the same level that we are at this point. It's like something's missing and I need to discover it.
I'm so excited about this book that I can't wait to read it. And I know Kodi has a question, but before that, I just want to share a quick, brief story. When I was at your recent event in Brooklyn, you and I had a moment that we were speaking of punching, and from that moment on, I think I had a breakdown and I was very emotional, even crying. And the way you handled that was superb, Master Joshua, but it's actually changed my sexual proclivities as a former sub to more of a dom in my recent sexual experiences. And a lot of it, I think, is because of that experience that I had. And it's just, I can't explain it any other way than I think I had a breakthrough. So I just wanted to share that. And thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
That's beautiful.
This is why I do it. It's like, I love this because we find so much permission in existence. And for how long we've known each other and for the vulnerability that you've shared with me and continue to share with me, that's an honor. Thank you for that. Thank you for having the trust in me to do that. Because it was fucking tough, man. Anybody watching, no, serious, no shit. What we did was big brother, little brother bullying.
Yeah.
And it was like, let me show you how fucking tough you are. And I beat his ass up a little bit. He tried
You
to
did.
fight back, and
Right.
I played possum a little bit, but it's like
he put me in my place. Yeah.
but it's the fact that you were willing to say yes,
Yeah.
and that you trusted the whole process of he knows how to go down this road, because I've done this for a while. So for you to believe me and to believe in me and us and what we were creating, it means a lot to me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Kodi, I know you've been wanting to
Wow.
ask a question. Though,
Yeah, no, I feel like we've been answering it this whole time, because we've talked a lot about shame and we've talked about how kink can transform. I just kind of want you to expound on that, on how kink can help you alleviate shame by educating yourself through kink, basically.
Well, educating yourself, yes, but experience is where
Okay.
the shame comes off, right? Being able to, I have somebody that I work with who they have their kink and they've always done it alone, and they've never been sure that they would be accepted. So the work that we do is around like doing your kink, but letting people see you. And
Hmm.
even though and it's funny because humiliation is part of their kink, but there's a difference between like the humiliation that comes on the good part of
Can
kink.
I give
Go
an
ahead.
example?
Yeah.
All right. So you know
absolutely.
how us guys are always scared of getting caught jerking off?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Imagine working through that fear as an adult.
Wow.
Oh,
Right? The
yeah.
shame of I can't jerk off in front of someone watching me because of my parent walking in on me when I was younger.
Huge
Mm.
shame.
That
Shame.
type of shit.
Wow.
Shame.
Yeah, no,
So
for
it's
real. Please, please.
I'm like I'm waiting for the gems to drop. I'm like eating them all up. But yeah, so it's like you're healing from childhood trauma by expressing your kink and what you have, like things that you are going through in life and
putting it out
in this
there.
age. Yes, putting it on
So-
Front Street. That's so beautiful
Yeah.
to me.
Like that's what's technically happening. A lot of people aren't aware of that, nor do a lot of people, because you have to be aware, not only acknowledge that that's what's happening, but understand and be actionable on it. Because yes, is it happening? Yes. Does that self-acceptance happen subconsciously? Yes, and it's all cool. But if people were more aware of what's happening, what is happening, they could act with better intention, right? And when I say, I don't want to sound judgmental by
Mhm.
the word better intention, but because casual shit is fun too. Believe me, God knows I spent decades doing casual shit, and it taught me who I was and who I wasn't. Right, but at a
Wow.
point, you discover who you are and what's required in order to gain access to your time, body, and resources. Right, because I love who I've become, and I want to know who I'm sharing it with respects it.
Mm.
Right, so that's the process of what's happening, but a lot of people aren't aware of it. That's why I acknowledging BDSM as a form of therapy when working with a professional, when the professional understands what's happening, right? Because it's the one-on-one conversations that are healing, and it's that's what validates a person. But the professional needs to understand that too, because
Mhm.
we're asking you to reflect on something that you may have never ever shared with anyone before, and
Yeah.
that's a
Right.
huge responsibility.
Wow, that is so amazing. So the question I was supposed to ask,
And then we have a
is-
question from our audience.
Yes, was we all know that the LGBTQ plus community has been unjustifiably under attack as of late. I was curious how this translates over to the kink community, basically.
Aside from 50 Shades of Grey, I don't think kink is acceptable.
Oh
I
wow.
think it's always shamed. I think there has a lot of work to go before, because it's not just what we do in the bedroom. It's our expression of affection, like collars, right? And thankfully, I found a space where I can do that in public with my slaves and submissives, where we can walk in public and there's no fear around the self-expression. But it happens, right? It happens with the pup hoods. It happens with people wanting to wear leather. Now, I also have a line of self-expression versus people in public. Now, as long as it's not sexual, I'm good with it.
Mhm.
Then you come to the Pride March. You come to the Pride March and kink expression. And this is the hard line, because people are saying it shouldn't. In the same breath as the LGBT community, are we conforming our children to some sort of level of normativity that eliminates their form of self-expression.
Mm.
Mm.
And it's like we have to be asking ourselves that question. Why do we not want them to see that? Like, but we're not taking the breath. The same way the conservatives are shunning us, we're doing it to ourselves.
Wow.
Well, and you mentioned something, Kat, in our meeting before when we were testing sound, and that you said we're not protected, and the BDSM community is not protected under LGBTQ. And when you hear like a book that Mr. Joshua is writing currently that's actually going to be helping people with things like shame, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on
Just
well,
the
well,
idea
I
of
mean,
not being included.
well, yeah, the book that's being written is going to be used as a textbook to make sure that therapists have some sort of training so that when their clients come to them, they're not, usually the client ends up educating the therapist, right? Like,
Right.
because they don't know anything. But this thing that we were talking about earlier is LGBTQAI++, whatever all those letters got strung together, and they're all protected classes of people. You
Mhm.
can't fire someone for being gay. You can't, someone's children can't be taken from them for being bisexual or transgendered. And those things can absolutely happen to people who are kinky and don't necessarily identify as one of the other things, or don't want to have to identify as one of the other things in order to be protected under the law.
Wow.
Yeah. We want to get to some of the upcoming events that you have going on, but we do have some a live question coming through. I believe is it by Bryce?
It's
Kodi?
from Bryce, yes.
Did you want to read it, Kodi?
Yes, I'll read it. Kink is such a beautiful release and a screw you to societal norms. However, why must we even have a label such as kink or normal? I think the exploration of sensuality and sexuality and any degree of it, of ality, is an expression of humanity. So I guess he just wants you to
Yes,
expound
No
on
question
that.
there. Agreed.
I know,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Amen.
No, like it's like you brought up the word queer. I was at this conference in San Francisco, queering psychedelics, and while I was there was a speaker by the name of Justin Napoli who spoke about queer and queerness and the definition of it. And ultimately, what I took away from it is that queer isn't about sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with that. It has
Mhm.
everything to do with finding your identity that's off the beaten
Identity,
path.
yeah.
Everything to do with that. Queerness is breaking the societal expectations in any way. You can be a heterosexual and be queer because you're looking to express yourself in forms that aren't socially acceptable.
Wow.
You can be gay and be not queer. Look at this guy. I'm going to call out this politician. I forget his name, but the gay governor who fits the heteronormative definition of gay,
Mhm.
right? Because that umbrella has expanded of what's acceptable. Because if you look at within the gay community, how much prejudice and
Oh, I know what
judgment
you're
is
talking
there,
about.
right? It's like
Yeah.
it's right there. It's right in plain sight. So there is a level of conformity. Queerness is about breaking the norms. We can't want equality, because if we want equality, our struggle won't be valued.
Mhm.
We will suffer for nothing, as opposed to saying, this was our struggle, look at us. This is what I survived.
Wow.
Right? I'm a firm believer in earning what we get. Like, don't give me anything. Let me get it. Because at the back end of it, it's our identity. It's who we can stand at the end of our lives and say, this is who I am, this is what I did.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And you know what else I heard? I heard that because you mentioned earlier that everybody is kinky. All right. And so that just says to me that like your statement there is everybody is queer as well. And we're all fighting against society's perception of what normal is. Boom.
But in my journey, I've been unlearning habits and learning new things. And I heard someone speak. It was a Black woman, and she was giving a lecture about it. And she said, for you to see me and to say that you don't see color is for you to not see me, because I am a Black woman.
Right.
And that hit me so heavy. Like, we're not, the thing what you just said about not being equal, like, we're not all equal, we're not all the same, our struggles are different. it's like being able to know who I am and what's true for me and be able to communicate that to other people. It's what we come back to this over and over again. I'm not the same as other people. None of us are.
We're different.
Right. And to sort
Yes.
of embrace our differences, but that we all have the right to exist. We don't have to all be equal. We just all have to have the right to exist.
And the
'Cause
BDSM
we're-
community
we're-
is giving more opportunities to find out who you really are so that you can really exist.
Well, when you live out, and don't get me started on my yellow brick road thing. When you decide that there's something that interests you that does not fit the most narrow definition of what it means to be a person in a culture, you have to start looking at who you are. You have to start paying attention to how you feel and what you think, because you no longer see yourself in everyone around you. Right? The example that I always use is a man that I used to work with. He was hetero in all of the ways except that he really loved pantyhose. And he used to have to go way outside of his, like, the most clandestine, crazy things just to indulge this fantasy, this attraction that he had to pantyhose, because he'd lost his whole life. If his family, anybody knew, he'd be excommunicated from his community. He'd lose access to his children. You know, his wife would leave him, and all of those things weren't imaginary. They were true for him. All
Wow.
because pantyhose interested him. Like, who cares?
Yeah, right.
And that's the society we live in. And that's why people have become so shamed about even the smallest of things. That,
Absolutely.
well, this is the work we do.
Okay, well, we have to get into your upcoming events starting this summer, also starting in July here in New York.
Yes.
You've got a series of events, one of which that will tell us about the Kink Collective presents an all-gender intensive. We're talking about the Power Exchange Academy, and it's held in Easton Mountain Retreat Center, which I looked up. I'll post this on TAGSPodcast.com, eastonmountain.org. It's a beautiful, amazing area. You said just 40 minutes outside of Albany by a lake. And tell us about this upcoming event that's occurring between Thursday, October 24th through Sunday, October 27th.
That's August, August 24th.
Oh,
to
excuse me,
August 27th.
August. I don't know why I said October.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the retreat version of the intensive that we do, and it starts on a Thursday night. It's in you said it all. It's a beautiful location. It's the education we just talked about. We walk people through self identity. Who am I? And then we set people up to be able to learn to communicate with other people. We have a tried and proven process that we use to help people go from I'm alone in this room, I don't know anybody, to to come out the other side and people's minds are blown and connections are made.
Wow.
We started with for the first night we have our opening circle, and it's a very spiritual and connected community process. We have our opening circle, and then the first night we do a show and tell where folks can come in and touch everything and ask questions, to where we're trying to remove the stigma from and the fear of what is BDSM. The whips and chains can be very scary. The following day, in this case Friday, we have this tried and true process where we teach you how to hold space and how to reflect and speak your truth, to see what it feels like to be accepted and validated and affirmed in sharing yourself. And in the same breath, you're holding space for someone else to do theirs. And you'll see how much more in common you have than not with a total stranger, based off of things that are fundamentally important for you. It's not even based around kink. We're just teaching you what it sounds and feels like to be seen and heard.
This whole first section, there's no mention of kink
At all, intentionally.
The first 3 hours of the intensive, the foundational course of the intensive, has nothing to do with kink.
And from that point
I love
forward,
that.
we're teaching you kink techniques and having more discussions. Like we have a discussion around power exchange. What does dominance and submission mean to us? And expressions of power. And it goes really deep into who am I within this realm? Because we can teach knowledge, but we don't teach anything that you can learn on the internet.
Right.
There's no,
Wow.
I don't care. No one cares how much you know, but how can I use this to help me get better? That's what we do.
Right. Once the connection part starts to happen, then the modalities we do offer are taught through this lens. So when we talk about impact or spanking or these sorts of things, it's not technical. We're not having technical conversations. We're talking about, we need to be safe and proficient, but how are we using it to further the connection that we're making with the person in front of us?
we do go into the technical elements of it in order so that to make it accessible, to show you that you can do it. Here are the safe spaces. Here are the areas you don't do it. Now learn how to communicate about it. Because, like, for example, one of the biggest things I tell folks in this class is, as a man, how much permission have you given yourself to explore your body without someone else doing it to or for you? Like, this isn't stuff you want to figure out at 2:00 in the morning on a Saturday. Right? Do I like a fist in my ass? Maybe.
Maybe.
No.
Hey.
Like, it's if you can learn in an educational environment where you can make the mistakes and ask the questions, like, you're in a good spot, because that's the safest space to do it, so you don't get traumatized or injured, and you can learn to find your language around yes or no.
We have limited time, though, and I want to make sure that I put the link in there. We'll post it on TAGSPodcast.com. But and there's still space there, I assume, for people to join this retreat coming up. Yes?
Yes, very much so.
Okay.
There's spots available. We have one here in New York City in July, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. That's the urban version. We have this one.
It's a 48-hour process, 48-hour program. It's really intense, and it's open gendered. It's at the LGBT Center.
Yes. And the one in August is also open gendered. And then there is a male identified event in November, the 1st through the 5th.
The open gendered event is August 24th to 27th. That's a 3-day intensive at Eastern Mountain. And then the all male is November 1st to November 5th.
And where will that one be? In Eastern Mountain
in Eastern Mountain as well.
Okay. Which looks, just give people a little taste of what Eastern Mountain Retreat Center is like, because I was scrolling around, it looks so amazing.
It's a 20-acre retreat center. It's at the foot of a mountain. It has its own lake. It has tons of hiking trails. The August one is going to be fun because the pool will be like nice and warm and lovely to be in. They have an outdoor wood burning sauna. They have an inside hot tub. The food is made by volunteers. The food is amazing. It's one price for the entire event. It includes your lodging, the food, the workshop itself. They have different types of lodging there depending on how private you want to be or how much you want to spend. And so once you're there, you just like put your car in the garage, in the lot up front, and you're there to relax and to take the classes. And we do play at night. We do a fire burning ceremony, ritual burning ceremony. We have all kinds of things that we do depending on the curriculum and who the facilitators are at hand for any particular one of these events. We've done about 15 or 16 of them so far.
It's a great way to develop community, and especially in the November one for the male experience, a way to develop community and brotherhood, right? Because we're not trying to have sex with everyone. What we're trying to do is validate and find community for others who are going through the same thing as us.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
And there's a lot of play, and it gets really intense. But
yeah,
this happens also. But
no, for real. Like,
but the more connected you are, the more intense the play can be, and in a very safe way, in a very safe and comfortable way. It's like you can face some of your scary things about the different modalities because you're with someone who you now established a lot of trust and commitment to being in the process of learning together.
It's a place you can find. It's a space you can find the space to say yes, especially for the harder ones to reach.
Okay.
Wow, I love it. Okay, Kodi, did you have anything else?
No, I'm living for this conversation.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Me too.
Thank you for having us here.
Oh my gosh, so wonderful as always. We can put the link tree in that you sent me. I will list that on TAGSPodcast.com, and in show notes you can follow both Kat and Master Joshua, all their upcoming events, Kink Collective. We want to really thank you. You guys will be at the Folsom East Festival this Sunday in New York City for those of you who are New York listeners. So come to you have a booth.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. We will check
We'll
that
have
out.
We'll have a booth.
I'll
Nice.
come see you.
Yes, absolutely.
If anybody
come
has
say
questions,
hi.
feel free to come and ask your questions. We'll be there all day.
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Can I throw one more thing in there?
Yes,
we
please.
also offer 30-minute consultations to folks who are curious about how can this lifestyle be for me. It's not if, but how. Right? How can I learn about this for myself? reach out
a
to us.
virtual
kinkcollective.net.
kind of, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So that just to get some guidance about where you are now and what might be your next step or where you want to go from here.
Nice. And we'll have Master Joshua on again for Surviving Master Joshua, a book that is my summer read right now. So we will see you soon, I hope, with the author. So see you soon. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you,
As
guys.
always, so
That's
enlightening,
amazing.
and thank you. You mean so
Thank you
much to
both.
me,
Thanks.
both of
Thanks
you.
for having us. It was great.
Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Nice
All
to
right.
meet you.
Yes.
Nice to meet you as well.
Bye, you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Nice. Oh my goodness,
That was
Kodi.
great. I learned so much.
Good. I know. I think we should kind of end it on a positive note there.
I feel the
right?
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Oh my gosh, let's leave it there because you guys, we'll list all this on TAGSPodcast.com. You know, you can always follow my co-host Kodi. He's a life coach. Follow him at KMD Coaching on Instagram. Also follow him on Instagram at Mr. Maurice, and he's got a birthday coming up. So wish him a happy birthday. It's coming
Send
up
me
soon.
some gifts too.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, follow me on Instagram. I am _Steve V. I am _Steve V. Or follow the show on Twitter at Tags Podcast. Take our survey. The best way to get all information is to go to tagspodcast.com, and we list everything there. Happy Pride. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex. Yes, I love it. So much fun. And I just got